I got kicked off, so we're going to start again. Central Processing Unit, your CPU, this is the administrative section of the computer. This organizes the other sections, telling what information needs to be displayed, what calculations need to be run, information stored, and in what order. Many computers have multiple processors and can perform many operations simultaneously. It can do all of these things at the same time, and that's the CPU telling it what to do. So, um, your control unit, your CPU, is controlling your arithmetic, logic unit, your memory, and that's communicating back and forth. And then it's getting input from the user and it's putting that into memory, processing it, and then the control unit is telling both of these what to do and is controlling the output and it's going in and out. So the control unit kind of controls everything, but they all are communicating. But the CPU is the main hub. Secondary storage unit, this is the long-term storage section of the computer. This is the information computers store that is not actively being used. It takes longer to access secondary storage. This is your CD, your DVD, your flash drive, your hard drive. So, early computers. What were computers like when they first were made? They used to run on punch cards and it could take hours to process the information. It wasn't displayed on a screen. You would put a punch card in and it would run on a process and then it would output your information. Operating systems were developed to make using computers more convenient. So back in the early days, you would have a punch card and you would have to know what holes to punch in order to put in what information. Okay, and then it would output information here. Then we move on to the 60s to time sharing. To reduce wait time compared to the punch card system in the 1960s, the timeshare idea was pioneered. Multiple terminals were connected to a single computer and it would process parts of one terminal's code and then move on to another terminal and so on until each job was finished. This one computer is running calculations for all these people, but it only runs one line of this code and then it runs one line of that code, then one line of that code, and so on and so forth. It wasn't running all of them at once. Then we get on to personal computing, 1977 and the 81. Apple Computer popularized personal computing. In 81, IBM introduced the IBM Personal Computer. This quickly made computing in business, industry, and government organizations a possibility. And your early computers were very rudimentary and very basic. Local area networks or LANs. During this time, business computers could still only run a single set of instructions at a time. To make computations quicker, computers were linked together to share processing information called distributed computing. So this is where multiple computers, multiple terminals were connected to different computers and they could all run at the same time. Today, personal computers are more powerful than the $1 million business machines just 30 years ago. Computers can link to networks wirelessly. Operating systems such as Unix, Linux, Apple Mac OS, Microsoft Windows, and Google Chrome make accessing computers intuitive. Then we've got the World Wide Web. A global network of computers was developed over 4 decades ago with funding from the U.S. Department of Defense. Originally, it was meant to connect universities and research organizations. Today, it's accessible to everyone. Then we've got different coding languages. So you've got 3 main languages. Your machine language is the natural language of the machine defined by its hardware design. Machine language consists of ones and zeros that instruct computers to perform their most elementary operations at one time. This language is dependent on the machine and is not transferable to other machines. What 001 means on one machine is probably very different than what it means on a different machine. Then we have assembly language. To make programming easier, programmers began using English-like abbreviations to represent elementary operations. This made code easier to read, but it's incomprehensible to the computer until it's translated to the machine language. Then we have high-level language. To reduce the amount of work needed to be done, high-level languages were created where simple statements could accomplish larger tasks. Program called compilers convert the high-level language into machine language that the computer can run. Java,